Hey, welcome back to Just for Fans. I'm working on my Kawasaki Vulcan 1500 again. In an earlier video, I had replaced the water pump housing gasket as I had a leak, and well, I didn't do a very good job and ended up leaking again. I'm losing about, I don't know, 3 to 4 ounces of radiator fluid on a 20-mile, 30-mile drive. So it's not that critical, but I'd like to stop the leak. It's like a drip coming out of it. So I went ahead and ordered a part from eBay. It's a pretty good part. It's used, but it looks really nice. And I got some new gaskets. So I'm gonna replace this in this video and show you how I do it. And maybe I'll get it right this time. All right, here's my new water pump housing unit, and it comes with the pipe and everything, which is nice. You need that. And yeah, it looks pretty good. It still has the old gasket on there. I'm going to take that off, of course. And I like how the guy sent me the I guess they're called like a roll pin or a locator pin that press in here, so you could put it on correctly. I guess it holds it in place where it's supposed to go. And see, on this last video, well, not last video, but a prior video, when I did this job, somehow I lost those locator dowels or pins or whatever, and so I made my own, and I think I cut them a little bit too long, and so I'm wondering if that's why it's not sealing completely. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go ahead and just replace it with this whole unit here and see what happens. And I got some new gaskets, so yeah. And so what I'm going to do is, you're going to have to drain the radiator fluid, all right? And come to the front of the bike here. Of course, this is your radiator. Got my little skull cut out on here. It's pretty cool. But beneath it, well, yeah. So beneath it, we want to drain it first. So there's like a petcock, like a little plastic. Let's see if I can show it to you here. Bam! You see that right there? It's plastic. It's white. Okay, right there. And you just turn it. It's like a valve. You just turn it one way or the other, and it should be lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, right? So anyways, you're going to drain it right there, get most of the fluid out. You're still going to have fluid in the bike. It won't drain everything out. So even when you break loose that water pump housing, yeah, there's some residual that's going to come out. But like I said, you can collect most of it. And so once I do that, I guess you do it a couple of ways. You could loosen these 4 8mm bolts, and if you want to first, and then we're going to take this radiator housing off, expose the radiator, and we could actually, you see how the radiator is kind of on a swivel here, clamp, and you could actually move the whole radiator out and away from the frame of the bike. The reason why you got to do that is because this little 8mm bolt holds this pipe onto the motor, okay? And you have to loosen that to get this water pump housing out of the bike, away from the bike. Well, okay, loosening it and getting it out is not a big deal, but trying to get that little bolt and your little hand in there to get that bolt started again when you put the new one on, it's almost impossible. It's a chore. So I think it's easier to get, loosen this radiator, and then you just swing it away from the bike and get in that way to get your hand in there and be able to get that 8mm bolt started. And so that's the steps, and I'm going to show you some more as I go. Just real quick here, I got a magnetic, a 6-inch magnetic parts holder, right, to put all your nuts and bolts when you're doing a job. It's really cool. This one's 2 times stronger on the magnetic strength. It's pretty decent. I got it at Harbor Freight, but check it out. This will hold through the packaging. It'll hold a small crescent wrench. Check that out. Look at that. I'm even swaying it back and forth, it's still staying there. That's pretty neat. Anyway, I like to use that kind of stuff to hold my nuts and bolts so I don't lose track of them. I have a habit of doing that. So it looks like, it sounds like most of the fluid, what was in there, is done coming out. And yeah, so now I'm going to take off this shroud, the radiator shroud, get it out of the way. Alright, I got the radiator shroud off, those 4 bolts. And this is not the original, of course. I got this on Amazon, I believe. And it's pretty cool, stainless steel. And I had to kind of modify it. It said it would fit the Vulcan, but it didn't. And so I had to kind of weld it. I spot welded it different places, like 4 different places there, so it won't come loose. And hey, it works great. I've had it for like a year now, riding this bike quite a bit and everything, and not a problem. Anyway, so now you got your radiator, right? And like I said, you got a hinged deal up here, right? So what I do is I come down here and I loosen this bolt here, and there's one on the other side over here, and this whole thing will swing forward, like I said. Alright, that way you can more easily get in there and to that water pump housing. Like I said, that this bolt back in here, and you gotta also get to the hose clamp, and that's kind of a pain without this being out of the way. Alright. Okay, so there's actually more to it than what I had previously was trying to tell you, which I forgot. But anyhow, on this other side of the bike, okay, opposite of the water pump, you have an 8mm bolt, okay, where that swivel part of the radiator is. You're gonna have to remove that. You're gonna have to actually pull this radiator all the way away from the bike to where you could disconnect that upper radiator hose as well, I think. So we'll see. Maybe we can get by without doing that. No, it's not that easy. So this lower radiator hose, you're going to need to loosen up that that pipe clamp, or I'm sorry, hose clamp. Okay, loosen that up so you can pull it away from the lower part of the radiator. Let's see what happens. Maybe I'll be able to manipulate the radiator enough now to be able to get my hand in there and do this water pump housing job. Yes, this is working. So don't, like I wouldn't suggest, you don't have to. Don't disconnect the upper radiator hose. Just leave it right where it's at. And when you disconnect that lower hose from the radiator right here, now you see you can pull this thing away enough to get your hand in there and be able to get to that water pump housing bolt that attaches the water pump housing tube to the engine. Okay, and now you can get in there, and you can also disconnect that hose. You can get to that clamp that's on that hose. See, that connects the that rubber hose to the water pump housing. Yeah, so now you see there's plenty of room now to get in there. And it's not that big a deal. I mean, a few bolts and whatever, it doesn't take that long, okay? So, because you could try to do it, like I said, without doing all that, but it is so hard to get your hand in there to that bolt, or get a wrench in there even. Anyway. Okay, so once you break that 8mm bolt loose over here, okay, with a 2-inch extension on a 1/4-inch drive ratchet, okay, now you could just use your finger, stick that extension on there with the socket, and just get it loose. It's a lot quicker, a lot easier. Get that loosened out of there. Of course, I already loosened up my clamp on my hose, so it should pull free. The only tough part's going to be breaking the seal, I think, on my gasket job, with that cork gasket I did. Yeah, I wasn't too happy with it, because I did put silicone with. I shouldn't have done that. That's not how you do it. The best way is to just do it dry with the actual gasket, which I got 2 of them right here. Bam. I was able to find these on eBay brand new, and I got 2 of them. You know, they weren't that much. They're like $6 a piece, something like that. Anyway, got a backup. If I ever got to do it again, I got another one. Okay, so now that's broke free, right? Now you just got to do these 4 8mm bolts, and this should break free from the motor. Okay, I removed all those bolts, broke them loose, removed them from the water pump housing. Make sure you slide this your pan to catch your radiator fluid underneath this area, because like I said, you can see it's dripping right now. You're gonna have residual come out of here. All right. Okay, I got it loose and away. Okay. It's got the remainder of my quart gasket, which I didn't think it did a very good job, really. And I shouldn't have slapped on that silicone. You don't need that. So now I want to take all this old silicone out of here. It's pretty clean. I cleaned it pretty good last time. By the way, when you gotta have a clean surface, okay? Right here where that gasket goes, it's got to be super clean. Now, this is I'm not sure if this is aluminum. It might be cast iron. Anyway, you want to be careful not to score it or scratch it. I like to use a brass bristled cleaning brush, which you could find them in Harbor Freight for like $1. And they work really well for getting the surface clean, and they won't score or scratch the surface. So you get a nice seal with your gasket. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up, and then I'll get back to it. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but those dowels I was telling you about, those locating dowels, the one on the left is the original. The other one, and I was doing the job before, I lost it somehow. Who knows what happened to it. Anyway, I think I was right. You see the stick out from the right to the left? See how this dowel is sticking out quite a bit more than this OEM one? And I think that was preventing it from sealing tight enough on this side when I would screw it in with the bolts. And that's where my leak was coming from, was right in this area, right up in here. So that probably was what it was. So, lesson learned, make sure you get the right stick out on those locating dowels. Otherwise it might not tighten up and seal properly. Brake clean works really good to get old silicone off. It breaks the silicone down and it's able to come off easier. So I'm going to use some of this. I'm going to spray some of this on there. Make sure you're careful though and wear eye protection, alright? I'm telling you, I've been pepper sprayed before years ago, and that's pretty bad. But you get brake clean in your eyes, oh my god, it makes pepper spray look like child's play. Okay, so be careful when you do that. And I'm going to spray this down and clean it up with a brass wire brush. Don't ever use steel, because you could scratch and score it. Listen, don't worry about getting the surface perfectly spick and span clean, because what you're going to do is you're going to end up possibly scoring it, trying to get it all clean completely. And as long as it feels smooth and you get the bulk of the gasket crap off of it, it's going to seal just fine. So don't stress on that. You'll just make it worse. Same here with this surface here. You might see a little whatever on there, but as long as you run your finger across and it feels smooth, and it's going to seal just fine with that gasket. Alright, so work the new gasket on there nice and gently. Take your time. Especially on this dowel right here, you have a really thin space in between those holes where that gasket could rip. So just be real gentle when you do it. Okay? Once you get it on, now you're going to mount it onto the motorcycle there. Alright, once you get it on, it might be a little stiff, and so I get a rubber mallet and just gently tap and that'll get you close enough to get the bolts going, and it'll suck it up the rest of the way from there. I only got like a 30-second gap there. There we go. Bam, nice. And don't worry about the hose. Don't put it on the hose first when you try to do this. Just don't worry about that hose. You could attach it after you get it bolted onto the frame. And everything else is like in reverse order the way I showed you on the video. Pretty simple. I hope this video helps, and I'm going to go ahead and when I get done, I'm going to start it up and take it for a drive and see if it leaks. Hopefully it doesn't. Alright, so I put the water pump housing and everything back together and tried to fill it up with antifreeze. I noticed it was leaking, the one I got from eBay, the other part, and it's the same scenario, leaking around the pipe. Well, I found out this water pump housing does come apart, and mine was just really stuck on there because it's so, you know, the bike's so old. But this does pop loose out of here, okay? Oh, wrong way, my bad. It pops loose right out of here, okay? And then right around here, there should be an O-ring, a rubber O-ring. Well, the one that was in there, you can see it. It's flat, it's cracked. Hold on. It's about as close as I can get. But it's got a flatness to it. It's not round anymore. It's got like a flat on top all the way around. So that's not going to seal. That's what the problem was. And the one I got from the used part I got off eBay, well, was the same thing. Just nobody replaced the O-ring on it, and it did the same thing. It leaked. So Harbor Freight has that O-ring kit like I told you about in my videos. A metric O-ring kit you need for Japanese bikes, alright? And it's number 115, part number 115 P18. Anyways, you just get the kit, man. It's not that expensive, and there's all kinds of gaskets in there, so it's kind of handy. But it's a 17.8 ID internal diameter, or inside diameter, 17.8 millimeter, and it's the OD is the outside diameter is 22.6 millimeters. Okay, but yeah, this is pretty cool. Now look, let's see if I could, hold on, bear with me. Look at that. You get all that, man. All kinds of different sizes, from very, very tiny, you know, all the way up to pretty dang big, man. This one right here is like 2 inches or something like that. Anyway, that's that. So when you're going to put the new O-ring on, alright, you want to use some gasket lube or something similar where it's made for rubber. It's not going to it's non-corrosive. It's not going to eat away at your rubber O-ring. You don't want that. Okay, so don't just use anything you want, like petroleum jelly. Believe it or not, I want to say it does it will eat away at the rubber. So anyways, you know, you want to use something that's not going to destroy the rubber. Put a little bit of lube on it so you can get that, you know, pushed back in a little easier without ripping the O-ring. You don't want to put it back in and rip it, and then you go put the bike back together and do all that work, and it's going to leak again. Okay, so we'll see what happens. I'll let you know. This should do the trick. It was that O-ring.